Hey guys, it's Obsolete here, back with another video. Today we are going over what class you should choose in the Calamity Mod. Due to the Calamity Mod changing so much about vanilla gameplay, along with adding a new class type and improving all other classes as well, it can be quite difficult to decide on what class to pick. Today I'm going to go over what type of stuff they use, as well as just general pros and cons of each of the classes. This video should help you decide on what class to pick, and you can make your choice by the end of the video on what class to play. Also, I don't like doing this stuff, but if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, but only if you enjoy the content. With that being said, let's get into our first class. The first class we're going over is the melee class. The melee class uses a variety of flails, yo-yos, swords, boomerangs, spears, and more to take down their enemies. Early game can be slightly rough depending on what weapons you use, as some of them have some pretty short range and require you to be very close to the boss, which isn't always a good thing. However, mid-game and late game, the melee class is basically a mage without mana, as most of your weapons shoot projectiles of some sort at that point, so you not only get very high damage, but you also have the highest defense of any class, making it a great class for those starting out in the mod that may have trouble dodging everything that comes at them late game, which is when that extra defense really comes in handy. This class also has a good amount of survivability options in the form of life-stealing weapons and tanky accessories, which to me makes it the go-to class for people who are maybe not super comfortable or confident in their ability to defeat certain bosses, as in my opinion it provides the biggest safety net out of all the classes, so if being a tanky late game mage with no mana cost sounds nice to you, definitely choose the melee class. Next up we have the ranger class. The ranger class uses a variety of flamethrowers, bows, guns, cannons, rocket launchers, and more to deal damage from a far range. This class is overall the most balanced class in the mod in my opinion. It doesn't really have any points where its power drops off, and it's always at a good point within the mod, dealing steady damage with its auto-firing capabilities. The class does have a pretty average defense stat, not being relatively high, but not very low either. The only potential downside I see of this class is having to worry about ammo, which ranges from gel, bullets, and arrows, which depending on if you are using any quality of life mods alongside Calamity may or may not be a problem, as some mods will allow you to create an infinite stack of any ammo type. The class is all around pretty average. Each of the types of ranger weapons gets a bit more content with it, so if you want to go all flamethrowers or all bows for example, you could totally do that with no problem at all. Overall, the ranger class is very balanced and pretty average, but in a good way, so if you are someone who's looking for stability and being pretty powerful at all stages in the game, with no big power dips or power spikes, I'd recommend ranger for you. Next up we have the Mage class. The Mage class uses a variety of different things ranging from spell tomes, wands, guns, and more to deal massive damage at the cost of using the resource of mana. This class has great range, a wide variety of different effects depending on what weapon you are using, and some insanely powerful weapons towards the later stage of the game. As a mage, it is your job to carefully manage your mana resource to avoid running out or getting the mana sickness debuff if you drink too many mana potions. The mage class does have a fairly low defensive stat, not the worst defense but one of the lowest in the mod, so they can be a little squishy at times, and need to take care and avoid getting hit as much as possible. You are also very dependent on certain potions, like mana regeneration, in order to function at your absolute best, but with proper potions you deal a ton of damage. The good news is that Calamity adds more early game mage weapons, so you aren't just out of luck if you can't get that lucky water bolt from the dungeon. This class also has a pretty wide variety of different effects, and I feel like every weapon is quite unique, so you likely won't get bored of the weapon options. Overall, very high damage, low defense, and has to manage a resource that the other classes don't have to worry about, but has some of the most unique weapons in the mod. Next up we have the Rogue class. The Calamity mod actually turns the vanilla throne class into a viable class. It adds many unique weapons that actually allow you to use this class for an entire playthrough with no worry about running out of weapons or having to hold on to one weapon for a very long time. The Rogue class also has a very cool mechanic that allows you to go stealth for a stealth strike if you stop moving and attacking for a few seconds, which grants your next attack additional effects based upon what weapon you are using. For example, the Skyfin Bomber Stealth Strike will launch 3 projectiles instead of the normal one, and cause a poison aura to spawn on enemy hits. That's just one of the many stealth strikes, with each having their own unique one. As cool as this mechanic is, unfortunately I do feel this mechanic doesn't get used very often due to the nature of the mod requiring you to move very quickly and quite often, mainly in boss fights, so it is quite difficult to use efficiently. And most of the time it is better to keep on attacking rather to wait for a stealth strike in terms of the amount of damage you do per second. This class definitely has the most unique features of any class in the mod. The weapons are very unique and you get to play with a lot of different types of things, ranging from hammers, flasks, barrels, bombs, and way more. If you get bored of using basically the same weapons with different stats, this class will definitely be a breath of fresh air for you. Last but not least, we have the Summoner class. The Calamity mod really gives a lot of love to the Summoner class by adding loads of new weapons, sentries, and armor sets, allowing you to do a playthrough of pure Summoner without going through the long process for a slime staff, and it even gives you a summon weapon to start out with upon creating your character. One thing the mod changes is when you hold a summon weapon, your minions will do 10% more damage, but if you hold a weapon that isn't a summoner weapon, your summons deal 50% less damage, meaning that you can be both ranger and summoner, but your summons won't be doing the full damage they would if you were just pure summoner. Damage and power can vary throughout gameplay. This class can struggle versus some early game bosses, but is great overall. It's also the safest option if you want to focus more on dodging things, rather than aiming your shots like other classes. Other classes may outdamage you, but that's worth it to me when all you have to do is just dodge and you can fully concentrate on everything happening on screen, which is super useful post Moonlord, as boss fights can get pretty messy very quickly, as there's a lot of things that you have to look out for. The downside to this class is it often has the lowest defense of any class, even lower than Mage, so you should make sure to dodge as many things as you can, because getting hit will likely take out a good chunk of your health. If you are trying to learn the boss's patterns and want to have full focus on everything around you, then the Summoner class is definitely for you. That is all for today, guys. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and comment your thoughts down below. Also, join my Discord if you want to talk to me and get updates on future videos. Link is in the description. See you guys next time.